Hey, 7th graders, I hope you are having a wonderful week. Today's lesson is 1.2 populations, and your learning targets are: I can model how to change the size of a population, and I can describe how births and deaths influence the size of a population. So really our main focus today is going to be like, all right, this is the size of a population. What happens if more individuals are born than die? And what happens when more die than are born? Or what happens when those numbers are roughly the same? Okay? So moving on, first thing you guys need to do is create a section for this new unit in your OneNote. So open up your OneNote. Your new section is going to be titled Population and Resources. So it should look a little something like this. Here's my OneNote, my section, Populations and Resources. And then I'm going to add two new pages, so vocab and key concepts. You guys can worry about this third little page later in the unit. And today you guys are going to add your unit question: why do populations change size in an ecosystem? We're not going to focus in on our chapter 1 question this unit. It talks about the glacial sea, which ironically isn't even a real sea. And so I'm not a fan of that little phenomena that we talk about, because where the examples that it gives of the populations in the sea are very much true and very representative of what we see in real life, the glacial sea is a make-believe place. So our unit question again: why do populations change size in an ecosystem? And your key concept number 1, within a population, organisms are always being born and dying. Okay? And then add to your vocab, population and ecosystem. So population is a group of the same type of organism living in the same area. Okay, so when we talk about a population of elk, we're not talking about all the elk in the world. Okay, we're just looking at elk, and we're just looking at a specific area. So one of the populations that we're going to look at in this unit are population of elk in Yellowstone. So we're just looking at that population that can intermingle with each other. And then finally, ecosystem are all the living and non-living things interacting in a particular area. So obviously things like plants, animals, bacteria, fungus, those are all the living things that we see in an area, in an ecosystem. But really, they're only in that ecosystem because of the non-living things like landscape, right? You're not going to see animals that don't do well in rocky terrain up on a cliff's edge, okay? So landscape's huge. Weather's probably one of the biggest non-living influencers of an ecosystem and the living things that inhabit that ecosystem. Just different things like that, sources of water, temperature, whatnot. Okay, so add those two to your OneNote, and once you have that done, you can move on to activity 2. Fairly simple. This just kind of introduces us to this phenomenon of this jellyfish population that we see in the glacial sea, okay, and how other organisms interact with that jellyfish population, where we can see changes in population size. So go ahead and right-click that, open up your link, and it will take you into YouTube, and you guys can watch that short little 30-second video. Okay, moving on to activity 3, we have a little simulation to complete. Really, the main thing you're going to do for the first part of the simulation is just explore it. Okay, so you can go ahead, right-click your simulation and open it up, and it'll shoot you into the Amplify link. I have it open here just in case it was going to take a second to load. From this first part, all I want you guys to do is explore the 3 populations intro. As we move through this unit a little bit more, you guys will experiment with some other parts of it. Okay, so here is our 3 population intro. And you guys can kind of mess around with this. I just want you guys to explore what you can do. You're looking at 3 different populations. You have these little green leaf plants, you have these little wee bug insects, and then you have these little furbill animals running around, okay? So notice you can zoom in on them, okay, so you guys can see. But I want you guys to just kind of explore what run looks like, analyze, tracking, notice the time, pause, 1x, what does this do, what does this little button do, what do these things do, and what can you see in this little activity here, okay? So go through, take about 5 minutes to just see everything that this simulation has to offer. And then you guys can move on to the next part of the simulation. So observing organisms in the sim. A population is a group of the same kind of organism living in the same area. Use the sim to observe what organisms in a population, what organisms in a population do and what can happen to them. So again, you're just going to focus in out of that 3 population ecosystem. You're going to focus in on just 1 to begin with. and you're going to observe what one individual organism does. So pick either a green leaf, a wee bug, or a furbill and just watch it. Okay, I want you to see what it does and what happens to it. And then you're going to record that information in the table on the next slide. So here's your first organism. Maybe you guys track a wee bug. Okay, what things did that wee bug do? Okay, what things happened to that wee bug? So you guys will see a lot of different things happen within this little ecosystem. And then pick a second organism. So maybe if you did wee bug on the first, you guys either pick furbill or green leaf for the second one. So do 2 different organisms and again, just track what they do and what happens to them. Okay, moving on is your last activity, which is a little read. I'm gonna go ahead and get this open. So in case it takes a second to open the library, it's all good for us. So you guys, I'm going to read the intro to you guys, this little article on Arctic ecosystems. And then you guys will find underneath that 8 different articles about different organisms that inhabit an Arctic ecosystem. So you'll see moon jellies, walleye pollock, leatherback sea turtles, orcas, zooplankton, algae, sea urchin, and kelp. You guys are going to choose 2 articles to read, one from column 1 and one from column 2. So read about 2 organisms, again, one from this column, so either moon jellies, walleye pollock, leatherback sea turtles, or orcas, and then choose one out of zooplankton, algae, green sea urchin, and kelp. Okay, so let me just read the intro to you guys. Notice that at the bottom of each article, there's like a little scroll bar. So life in the Arctic. So this little picture we have is obviously the Arctic. The Arctic Ocean may be very cold, but it's filled with lots of different organisms. At first glance, the Arctic Ocean might not look like a great place to live. After all, it's cold there. However, despite its year-round cold climate, the Arctic is full of life. The chilly Arctic waters are home to many different populations of organisms, from tiny algae to giant whales. To learn more about the populations that can make up an Arctic ecosystem like the Gulf of Alaska, read one or more of the chapters that follow. And like I had already explained to you guys, you're going to read 2 of those. You're going to pick one from column 1, one from column 2. So again, you guys can scroll through these articles. Your first one you'll see is moon jelly. So we're looking at a different type of jellyfish. You have wall-eyed pollock, which is obviously a type of fish. You have zooplankton, which is a little microorganism. You guys from the first unit should know what a microorganism is. Same with algae, also a microorganism. We also talked about algae when we talked about taxonomy and how we classify different things like protists and fungus and animals and plants, so on and so forth. All right, leatherback sea turtles, those crazy little guys there. And each of these articles are fairly short, usually about 3 paragraphs. Orcas, and remember too that Amplify will read to you. Click that little speaker right there and hit play.
Chapter 7, Orca Whales.
Okay, so usually each article is probably a little bit over a minute. We've got sea urchin, green sea urchins, excuse me. And finally, we got these giant kelp forests. That would be kind of an eerie feeling. It kind of has that Harry Potter-esque look to me, if you ask me, if you guys have ever seen those movies. All right, so pick 2, and then on the next slide, I want you guys to circle the 2 you read. Okay, so you guys should be able to identify the article and the organism that you read about by the pictures. So use your draw tool to circle which one of those you guys read to complete this assignment. Okay. All right, moving on to your wrap-up. Remember that if you have any questions, circle yes or no, and if you do, type them right here. If it's something that's preventing you from completing this assignment, you guys want to let me know right away because I want to be able to help you out before you finish this assignment and turn it in incorrect or incomplete. And then 4, 3, 2, 1, how do you think you did? Okay. All right, finally, you are all done. You guys can turn it in, and I hope you are having a wonderful day. Bye.